Okay, it's day 143, and yesterday was obviously a big day. There was, I think, a total of 12 or 13 different videos, and I just was amazed. Yesterday was probably the most productive day in terms of research leading to entities. I don't get focused on, let's say, the Vegas shooting and so forth. I don't focus on all the details. Other people do that. What I do is I say, okay, what were the people involved and what were their associations? ABM for Wong turns out to be a provider, a secure provider for Medcom. Medcom, what is U.S. Medical Command? The three regions based in San Antonio, that sort of thing that comes from that. What are the parts systemically in our government that could be attacked? What are areas of research that we should uh, move down in and find out more about, and then help our government inspectors to drill down? That's the idea here. Same thing here with Erman Owens, looking at our radiologists actually, and this is not a radiologist like a doctor's radiologist, this is a person who's taking x-rays. Are those people really writing prescriptions? Why do they have DEA licenses if they do? That sort of thing. I've read several articles from people that were radiologists that never ever received their DEA license, and understanding the DEA license process more. And then I saw yesterday it went all the way down to Suboxone being a Y or something, fairly far down into the alphabet, maybe not all the way to Y, but understanding that so that the public can understand how this crisis is happening. Again, 170 people a day. If you're going to march from wherever in Parkland to Tallahassee to protest 17 murders, where your police won't go in, even when they have 39 9/11 calls, and even when they have police at on site hearing shots. If you're going to walk all the way from Miami to Tallahassee, and I think they took buses. I don't even think they did a march. Then why wouldn't you at least put some effort into knowing how these licenses are given out and what the source of the problem is? And then you could do that from just doing compound searches. And that goes into what we did yesterday, because we have 190 of these people out there who are whistleblowers. And I would bet a full half of them are somehow either involved in DEA or VA type whistleblower activities, just given the nature of the news and the metadata in the news. And we talked all about being an information artist, all the different ways that you can do searches, all the different ways that you can help get the message out. The protests of the 60s songs kind of came to light with JK here. That was great. And then it brings out things like this, just graphics that show in one picture. Here are the three regions of the U.S. Army Medical Command, and these are the different soft points, critical crush points potentially. And there's that list I was talking about of all the different lists of, C is a practitioner for DEA license, J and K, we can always remember J and K now because we have JK, right? And that's importer and exporter. It turns out to be importer and exporter. I hate to associate JK with that. But then we have these treatment programs, this almost PTSD. It's almost all the same letters of PTSD, just throw an R in there.
Okay, this is day 140.
So yeah, just throw an R in there, and then it goes all the way down to X for Suboxone. But curiously enough, for this RISV guy that Q thought was going to be important, come to the Q-Laid, he thought that was going to be important. There is no W. There is no W. There isn't, I believe Suboxone is an X, but there is no W, and RISV's license has a W. Is that going to now be an easy tell for anybody in the VA to come forward with more leads? Well, we don't know. And then lastly, we finished off with this kind of simple fix. I love these things that are 10 cents that save 4,000 lives and 4,000 mothers going to Shriners hospitals to exfoliate their kids' skin every 12 hours and watching the pain in their daughter's eyes when that happens. I love that. That's where regulations do make sense. And just say, hey, let's eliminate 2,000 regulations for this 1 10-cent fix. So people say, well, nothing ever happens. Yes, something does happen. This is an indictment of Vincent Ramos, okay? And this is the guy who makes that Phantom Secure software for Blackberry. RICO conspiracy and conspiracy to distribute controlled substance. Oh, you only took down one company in Vancouver, BC, right? You only took down one company. Well, it just happens to be the backbone, as I've said here for months or almost a year, of the Sinaloa drug cartel, the largest cartel in Mexico. You want to strike at opioids, you have to strike at Sinaloa cartel. There's no avoiding that. They are number one. They are number one by far. They are the elephant in the room in Mexico in terms of drug cartel, right? They're not number two. We went for number one, and this is 80%. This is the gorilla. Everyone else is a chimp in Mexico. We went for the gorilla, and we went right at the heart of the information backbone, and we struck and we got the indictment. Boom, right? And now we also know that many other bike gangs sponsored by ATF in the United States use this type of phone. Okay, so this was real results, and it happened within 8 hours. That was the amazing part. It happened while we were doing the broadcasts, which was very cool. And then this company is obviously in Vancouver. Now, I wanted to also, I'll just take a little time to talk about this article yesterday. It was a 15,000 word article. It wasn't 30,000 words. I pasted twice in the word count. So she didn't get paid quite as much. Janet Meyer didn't get paid quite as much, but there was a great treatment written by, and I always like to promote other channels, Empty Wheel. This guy has got that Trish Negron type hand, that Harvard hand, where they really know how to write and really know how to do literary criticism and so forth. So if you haven't read 15 Months and 15,000 Words Later, Boosters Still Obscure the Timeline on the Steele Dossier, I tend to very quickly summarize Deripaska, right? That's the essence of the article, which is what's being smoothed over. But if you really want to see a great treatment, the Harvard hand, the Trish Negron type Harvard hand, I almost wonder, Empty Wheel it has such a fine hand. I think, oh, that's Trish. But anyway, read Empty Wheel in this article. I'll put the links in. And then getting to Blackberry, I said Ottawa because I've been to Ottawa a lot, but it's actually in Waterloo. And this was one of the first towns I stopped in after I did the pain clinics in Detroit. Then I went to Waterloo, and that's where I met this filmmaker, and we were talking about the pain clinics in Canada and how Blackberry really started kind of out as a paging company, and then people said, hey, we can use these pages back and forth, and that becomes kind of a text conversation, right? And that's kind of how Blackberry started, near not Ottawa, not even Toronto. Here's your map of Canada. Here's Ottawa, where I thought it was, and this is kind of like the parlay between Montreal and Toronto when they were figuring out where the capital should be. So, half of Ottawa is English speaking, the other half Hull is French speaking, where I could get to speak my bad French. But it actually started by a guy who was going to school down here in Windsor, okay, which is actually south of Detroit. You can go from Detroit south and then Waterloo up here. Now, did it originally have success here when he was a student down here at University of Windsor as a drug dealer's dream with the text back and forth? Hey, they're coming, hey, Scrunchy, they're on their way, get out, or hey, I don't need a dime, make it a quarter, or whatever. Was that really where it started and got its start as a paging company for drug dealers? Because it had this idea of encryption right from the beginning, and then they moved up to Waterloo here to be closer to the brain, all the brains in Toronto. I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you this: the pain clinic whole invasion from the Canadian invasion. I'm not trying to say negative things about Canada here, but the invasion happened here in Detroit, right across that river, right across the Detroit River there, and then here in Montreal, right across at Fort Drum, going across the St. Lawrence Seaway. And I don't know where Fort Drum is along here, but I crossed it and I retraced those rat lines. So a great day of research that ended up in an indictment, okay, and going directly after the largest drug cartel in the world, okay? So maybe we had something to do with it. Maybe we didn't have something to do with it. I think a year of saying the Blackberries are the key and the backbone to the drug cartel had something to do with it.